Stop and listen. What would you do if, after selling your soul for an empire, your past returned, not to destroy you, but to show you the perfect life you lost? This is the story of Alexander Alex Vance, a real estate magnate who 20 years ago made the most ruthless decision of his life, to abandon his devoted wife for the cold embrace of ambition. 2 decades of immense success and silent emptiness. Then, at a dazzling charity gala in New York City, his past materializes. The woman he cast aside is radiant, transformed, and unrecognizable. But it is the handsome young man at her side, with eyes that are a mirror of his own, that ignites a terrifying question. Has Alex Vance built his fortune upon the ruin of his own happiness? The cold embrace of ambition, the abandonment. Alexander Vance had soared to the dizzying heights of power. The air in his opulent penthouse, overlooking the Central Park South skyline, vibrated with unspoken possibilities. From his floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights glittered like scattered diamonds, a reflection of the wealth he craved. Yet, despite the dizzying heights of his ambition, a quiet, almost imperceptible ache resided deep within him, a persistent ghost of a life he had ruthlessly cast aside. 20 years ago, Alex wasn't Alexander Vance, the formidable real estate magnate. He was simply Alex, a driven but struggling entrepreneur married to Eleanor "Ellie" Hayes. Their modest apartment in the Village was a world apart from the gilded cage he now inhabited. Ellie was his anchor, his confidant, the steady flame that warmed their humble abode. She believed in him when no one else did, pouring their meager savings into his fledgling ventures, working extra shifts as a preschool teacher to keep them afloat. Her laughter, a melody he hadn't heard in years, used to fill their tiny kitchen. Her hands, soft yet calloused from years of caregiving, were the ones that had dried his tears of frustration and held his in moments of triumph. But ambition, like a relentless tide, can erode even the strongest foundations. As Alex's ventures slowly began to gain traction, a new world opened up to him as a world of high-stakes negotiations, glamorous parties, and influential connections. In that world, Ellie, with her simple dresses and practical shoes, began to feel like an anchor in a different, more burdensome sense. He started to see her not as his supportive partner, but as a relic of a past he desperately wanted to escape, a reminder of the poverty he vowed to transcend. The turning point came with the acquisition of the sprawling former industrial complex in Brooklyn. It was a monstrous, dilapidated property, but Alex saw its potential, a vision of luxury apartments and commercial spaces. The deal required an immense amount of capital and, more crucially, an undeniable commitment that would consume his life for years. Ellie, ever the pragmatist, had voiced her concerns. "Alex, are you sure about this? It's a huge risk. What about us? What about forming a family like we always planned?" Her words, once a comfort, now sounded like chains. "Family? Ellie, do you know what this deal means? This isn't just about us anymore. This is about legacy. This is about true wealth." His voice had been sharp, tinged with a resentment that surprised him. The argument escalated, like many in the preceding months. The day he left, the air was heavy with unspoken finality. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation. There were no raised voices or tears from him. He simply packed a small bag with documents and a few changes of clothes, ostensibly for an extended business trip. Ellie stood in the doorway of their bedroom, her eyes wide, a silent plea deep within them. "I need space, Ellie," he had said, his voice monotone, devoid of emotion. "This isn't working. I can't build an empire if I'm constantly tied down." He had expected an outburst, a desperate clinging. Instead, Ellie had simply nodded, Her shoulders slumped. "I understand, Alex," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I hope you find what you're looking for." That quiet acceptance, devoid of anger or accusation, had unnerved him more than any fight. He remembered the faint scent of lavender from her sweater as he brushed past her, the way the morning light caught the few silver threads in her dark hair. He hadn't looked back. He stepped into a waiting taxi, leaving behind not just a wife, but a part of himself he would spend the next 2 decades trying to bury under layers of success. He never called. He never wrote. His lawyers handled the divorce papers, a sterile exchange of legal documents that severed their connection like a surgical blade. Ellie hadn't asked for anything, not a dime of the meager assets they owned. She only requested that her maiden name be fully restored. Hayes. Alex had signed the papers without a second thought, already consumed by the blueprints of his nascent empire. Eleanor Hayes vanished from his life as completely as a dream upon waking. In the ensuing years, Alex Vance built Vance Global Holdings into a monolithic force. Skyscrapers bore his name. His face graced the covers of business magazines. He lived in a world of private jets, exclusive clubs, and a revolving door of women incredibly beautiful and equally ambitious who understood the rules of his game. No complicated emotions, no commitment, just fleeting companionship. He acquired properties, companies, and even a minor league baseball team. He became a name synonymous with power, a testament to his relentless drive. Yet, despite the endless pursuit of more, a hollowness persisted. It was a subtle, treacherous emptiness, masked by champagne toasts and the roar of the stock market. A veces, en la oscuridad de la noche, cuando la ciudad estaba en silencio y el ático era vasto y vacío, el eco de la suave risa de Ellie resurgía, una melodía fantasmal que no podía silenciar del todo. Se decía a sí mismo que había tomado la decisión correcta, que Ellie había sido una distracción, una debilidad. El éxito, razonó, exigía sacrificio. Había sacrificado a Ellie y ahora era un rey. Pero el rey a menudo cenaba solo, rodeado de los despojos de una victoria que se sentía cada vez más hueca. Mientras tanto, Ellie había enfrentado una realidad diferente. El abandono la había destrozado, dejándola a la deriva en el tranquilo piso de The Village, que de repente se sentía inmenso y vacío. El shock inicial dio paso a una profunda pena, no solo por la pérdida de un marido, sino por el desmoronamiento de un sueño compartido. Sin embargo, Eleanor Hayes no era de las que se lamentaban. Poseía una fuerza interior, una resiliencia nacida de una tranquila determinación que Alex nunca había apreciado. El trabajo en el preescolar se convirtió en su salvavidas. La risa inocente de los niños, un bálsamo para su espíritu herido. Consiguió clases particulares adicionales, ahorrando cada céntimo. Redujo su espacio, mudándose a un apartamento más pequeño y acogedor que aún conservaba recuerdos, pero menos dolorosos. Se matriculó en clases nocturnas, persiguiendo una pasión de toda la vida por el diseño gráfico, un campo muy alejado del mundo de la enseñanza. Volcó su energía en sus estudios, encontrando consuelo en las líneas precisas y los colores vibrantes de sus creaciones digitales. Su talento, una vez latente, floreció bajo la tierra nutritiva de su nueva independencia. Lentamente, con gran esfuerzo, Ellie comenzó a reconstruir su vida ladrillo emocional a ladrillo. Aprendió a valerse por sí misma, a prosperar no a pesar del abandono de Alex, sino debido a la libertad que paradójicamente le brindó. La mujer tranquila y gentil que Alex había dejado atrás se estaba transformando, endureciéndose en algunos aspectos, pero floreciendo en otros. Se desprendió de la vieja piel de la dependencia, emergiendo más fuerte, más segura de sí misma, y con una confianza tranquila que brillaba bajo su exterior, aún gentil. Pause for thought. Alex believed Ellie would wither. She, instead, flourished. Do you think success in business justifies sacrificing the people who believe in you? Leave your opinion in the comments. Alex's later life was a whirlwind of international travel, board meetings, and high-profile negotiations. He amassed art collections, invested in vineyards, and acquired luxury vehicles that remained largely unused in his climate-controlled garage. He became a symbol of unbridled success, but the persistent emptiness was a constant, low thrum beneath the roar of his achievements. He dated a succession of elegant, accomplished women, but they were relationships of convenience, alliances of power, devoid of the complicated, unpredictable emotions that Ellie had once effortlessly evoked. He told himself this was the price of greatness, the necessary solitude of the king. He worked harder, accumulated more, believing the sheer volume of his accomplishments would eventually fill the void. Meanwhile, Ellie's life, though less publicly celebrated, flourished with a richness Alex could never have comprehended. Her freelance graphic design business, Hayes Creative Studio, grew steadily. Her unique aesthetic, clean, elegant, and infused with subtle warmth, set her apart. She discovered a particular skill for branding and specialized in sustainability. Encontró un pequeño estudio bañado por el sol en un enclave artístico de New York, un lugar donde el aroma del café y la creatividad se mezclaban en el aire. Sus días transcurrían inmersos en su trabajo. Sus noches se llenaban de clubes de lectura, inauguraciones de galerías de arte y cenas tranquilas con un pequeño y preciado círculo de amigos que valoraban la autenticidad por encima de la ostentación. Ellie also pursued other passions. She took up pottery, finding a meditative calm in shaping the clay with her hands. She volunteered at a local animal shelter. Her quiet compassion was a comfort to abandoned creatures. Her life was filled with purpose, creativity, and genuine human connection. Uno de los cambios más significativos en la vida de Ellie, sin embargo, se produjo de una manera tranquila e inesperada. Mientras trabajaba en un rediseño web para una organización sin fines de lucro dedicada a fomentar el talento artístico juvenil, conoció al Dr. Daniel Rhodes. Daniel era un historiador de arte brillante y de voz suave que formaba parte de la junta de la organización. Sus interacciones iniciales fueron puramente profesionales, pero pronto las pasiones compartidas por el arte, la literatura y las noches tranquilas dedicadas a discutir ideas comenzaron a tejer un tapiz diferente. Daniel era todo lo que Alex no era: paciente, amable, profundamente empático y completamente desinteresado en la riqueza material más allá de una vida cómoda. Vio a Ellie, la vio de verdad, más allá de su pasado, más allá de sus talentos. Vio la resiliencia en sus ojos, la calidez en su sonrisa, la profundidad de su espíritu. Su relación se desarrolló lenta y deliberadamente. Daniel era una presencia constante, una mano suave, un oído atento. Aportó una calma estable a la vida de Ellie, un sentido de compañerismo que no se había dado cuenta de que todavía anhelaba. Después de 5 años de tranquila compañía, se casaron en una pequeña e íntima ceremonia en el New York Botanical Garden, rodeados de sus amigos más cercanos. Eleanor Hayes se convirtió en Eleanor Hayes Rhodes, y con esa unión comenzó un nuevo capítulo firmemente arraigado en el amor y la estabilidad. Alex, ajeno a estos acontecimientos, continuó su marcha implacable. Su patrimonio neto se hinchó hasta las decenas de miles de millones. Había alcanzado la cima. Sin embargo, el vacío persistente seguía siendo un latido sordo y bajo el rugido de sus logros. A veces se preguntaba por Ellie, no con arrepentimiento, sino con una curiosidad distante, como uno podría preguntarse por un personaje de una novela olvidada. ¿Era feliz? ¿Se había casado? Imaginaba que se había adaptado a una vida tranquila y provinciana, quizás todavía enseñando preescolar, viviendo una existencia sencilla, inconsciente de las deslumbrantes alturas que él había escalado. El pensamiento, se dijo a sí mismo, confirmaba su elección. Él se había elevado, mientras que ella, presumía, simplemente había aguantado. No podría haber estado más equivocado. El universo, sin embargo, tiene una forma peculiar de orquestar encuentros, de tejer hilos olvidados de vuelta al tapiz de la vida. Alex, a pesar de todo su poder, no era más que un peón en este gran diseño. El escenario se estaba preparando para una confrontación, una colisión de pasado y presente que destrozaría su mundo cuidadosamente construido y lo obligaría a enfrentarse al fantasma de la mujer que abandonó y la vida que nunca conoció realmente. The fateful encounter at the plaza. The annual charity gala of Varela Global Holdings was not simply an event. It was the personal kingdom of Alexander Vance, a dazzling microcosm of his dominance over the financial world. Tonight, the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel in Manhattan shimmered with the 1,000 facets of New York's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm, golden glow over a sea of bespoke suits and haute couture gowns. Alex, impeccably dressed in a midnight blue tuxedo, was the undisputed monarch. He was halfway through a polite, yet tedious, exchange with Senator Monica Fuentes, a powerful figure in government, when his gaze, typically so disciplined in its focus, unintentionally drifted across the crowded room. And then, his eyes snagged. Standing by the grand marble fireplace, she was talking animatedly, her head tilted slightly, and her laughter, clear and melodious, cut distinctly through the ballroom's polite hum. The sound itself was like a forgotten string struck deep within him, a faint, unsettling echo from a distant past he had carefully compartmentalized. It was a unique timbre, instantly recognizable to a part of his mind he believed dead. He frowned. He dismissed the thought. But a subtle, insistent pull, an almost primal curiosity, compelled him to look closer. The woman turned slightly, and for the first time her profile was fully visible. Her hair, no longer just a simple dark color, was now a lustrous chestnut, styled in soft, elegant waves that framed a face that had matured with extraordinary grace. Lines of laughter, not worry, crinkled around her eyes, and her smile, as she responded to something said by another guest, was radiant, brimming with genuine warmth and an inner serenity that struck him with profound force. It was undeniably her. Eleanor Hayes. His breath hitched. He felt a sudden, disorienting lurch, as if the solid marble floor beneath his feet had dropped several feet. This was not the Ellie he remembered, the quiet, slightly faded woman he had abandoned, who, in his own arrogant estimations, he presumed had withered in his absence. This Eleanor radiated an aura of calm confidence, a sophisticated elegance that transcended mere beauty. She wore a gown of deep emerald green that shimmered subtly. A tight, cold knot formed in his stomach. How was she here, in this exclusive circle at his charity gala? He was about to offer a curt apology to the senator, his composure desmoronándose quickly, when another figure stepped into his view, drawing his attention with an almost visceral, sickening jolt. Standing beside Eleanor, his hand casually and intimately resting on the small of her back as she laughed, was a young man. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a confident yet approachable demeanor that spoke of quiet strength and inner poise. And then Alex saw his face, a shock of dark hair, an unmistakably deep tone, a strong, defined jaw, eerily similar in its angularity to his own. But it was the eyes that truly paralyzed him. Deep-set, intelligent eyes, a distinct hazel tone that had always been Alex's most commented upon feature, inherited directly from his paternal line. The young man's gaze met Eleanor's, and a tender, intimate smile, full of mutual affection, passed between them. A silent communication of deep connection. The world seemed to tilt violently on its axis. A cold terror filtered into his bones, a premonition so powerful and terrifying that it stole the air from his lungs. This young man, he looked so much like him, but not the current, aged Alex, with stress and cynicism lines etched around his eyes and mouth. He looked like the Alex of 25 years ago, before ambition consumed him. He looked like the son Alex had vaguely dreamt of, a phantom limb pain in his heart that he hadn't realized still existed. He mumbled a hurried, barely coherent apology to the senator, who looked at him with mild surprise, and walked away from their conversation. His eyes remained locked, almost hypnotized, on Eleanor and the young man. He needed answers. He needed to know with a desperate, crushing urgency. Just then, he saw another figure approach the pair. It was Eleanor's husband, Daniel Rhodes, a distinguished-looking man, a little older than Eleanor, with an air of quiet academic authority, kind eyes, and a gentle smile that seemed to radiate genuine warmth. Daniel placed a reassuring hand on Eleanor's arm, and she turned toward him, her face lighting up with an expression of deep affection and contentment that Alex had never fully witnessed during his own marriage. A surge of unexpected jealousy, sharp, potent, and utterly humiliating, washed over Alex. This was her husband. This was the man who had given her the life she now lived, the happiness Alex had denied her. He watched, paralyzed, as Daniel Rhodes embraced the young man, a familiar gesture of paternal warmth. The young man, in turn, hugged Daniel, with a genuine affection and respect evident in his actions. They were a family, a complete, loving unit, a family in which Alex had no part. He needed to get closer, to hear their names, to confirm or deny this terrifying suspicion. Fingió un desvío hacia una barra cercana. Logró llamar la atención de un antiguo socio, Marcus Bell, un gurú de relaciones públicas conocido por su conocimiento enciclopédico de la sociedad de New York. Marcus, noticing the unusually rigid posture of Alex, lumbered over. "Alex, old boy, wonderful gala as always." Alex forzó un tono casual, su corazón latiendo con fuerza contra sus costillas. "Marcus, good to see you. Hey, who is that lovely woman by the fireplace, with the gentleman and the young man? They look quite prominent, but I can't quite place them." Marcus peered over his glasses. "Ah, Eleanor Hayes Rhodes, a truly remarkable woman. Elegant, sharp, and with an incredible eye. Runs a successful design firm, Hayes Creative Studio. Been making quite a name for herself in the sustainable design sector. And that's her husband, Dr. Daniel Rhodes, a renowned art historian at Columbia. Very philanthropic, both of them. Top-notch people." Marcus paused, then pointed to the young man. "And the young man, that's their son, Ethan Rhodes. Just graduated from Columbia with honors. Brilliant kid, heading into sustainable architecture, following his stepfather's lead with that passion for heritage, but with a modern twist, of course. Su hijo. The word hit Alex like a physical blow. Ethan Rhodes. But he looked so much like him. His mind spun frantically, trying to reconstruct a fragmented timeline. Ellie had wanted children. A son who looked like him. Estaba embarazada when he left? 2 decades of relentless, self-serving ambition had blurred the precise details. A cold, awful truth began to dawn. A truth so devastating it threatened to shatter his identity. What if Ethan wasn't Daniel Rhodes' son by blood? What if Ethan was his son? A son he had abandoned without knowing it, along with his wife and their shared future. The nausea, cold and acidic, washed over him, followed by a deep, crushing regret. Consiguió atrapar un fragmento de la conversación de Eleanor. Daniel, darling, I was just telling Ethan about the new sustainable architecture project. He's so excited to contribute. Burning questions. Ellie told Alex she hoped he would find what he was looking for. Knowing she was pregnant, was that a silent form of punishment or an act of immense protection toward her son? Do you think Alex has any right to enter Ethan's life now? Let us know your opinion in the comments. He returned to the ballroom, moving now with a desperate, predatory focus. He walked past Eleanor and Daniel, feigning a detour toward the bar. As he passed, he caught a fragment of Ethan's voice, clear, confident, and infused with youthful energy. Mom, Dad, I'm going to grab a drink. Do you need anything? The casual affection in Ethan's voice, the natural way he included both Eleanor and Daniel, was like a knife twisting in an open wound. This was his family. This was the life Alex had rejected. Necesitaba un plan. Recordó una pequeña marca distintiva justo debajo de su lóbulo de la oreja izquierda. Un pequeño lunar oscuro que había heredado de su propio padre. Una firma genética transmitida de generación en generación. He had to see Ethan up close, unobstructed, to look for that mark. Pasó el resto de la noche al acecho, su mirada volviendo repetidamente a Ethan. Cuando la gala comenzó su lento y elegante final, Alex vio a Ethan dirigirse al guardarropa, preparándose quizás para irse. This was his opportunity. Now or never. Se movió rápidamente, sus pasos urgentes, interceptando al joven justo cuando llegaba al mostrador. Excuse me, dijo Alex, su voz sorprendentemente firme. Ethan, right? I'm Alex Vance. I believe I know your mother, Eleanor. Trató de sonar casual. Ethan se giró. Sus ojos avellana, tan sorprendentemente parecidos a los de Alex, se abrieron ligeramente con educada sorpresa. Mr. Vance, dijo, extendiendo una mano firme y cortés. Yes, Ethan Rhodes. It's a pleasure to meet you. My mother speaks very highly of your foundation's philanthropic work. The pleasure is entirely mine, Ethan, respondió Alex, su voz apenas controlable. Your mother? Yes, Eleanor and I met many, many years ago. It's truly wonderful to see her looking so remarkably well. Mientras Ethan hablaba, detallando sus estudios, sus aspiraciones, su pasión por el diseño ambientalmente consciente, Alex se inclinó sutilmente, tratando de obtener una vista mejor y sin obstáculos del lóbulo de la oreja izquierda de Ethan. Su corazón latía con fuerza. Estaba allí, un pequeño lunar oscuro, precisamente posicionado justo debajo del lóbulo. Exactamente donde estaba el de Alex. Del mismo tamaño, del mismo tono, la misma sutil curva de la piel a su alrededor. El mundo se silenció. All Alex could focus on was that tiny, ordinary mark, a silent, irrefutable testament. Ethan Rhodes was not just a young man who looked like him. Ethan Rhodes was his son, a son he had abandoned without knowing it, along with his wife and their shared future. The nausea, cold and acidic, washed over him, followed by a deep crushing regret. Consiguió balbucear algunas trivialidades más tensas. Estrechó la mano de Ethan de nuevo, su agarre apretado, casi desesperado, aferrándose a esta conexión fugaz e insoportable. It was a true pleasure, Ethan, dijo con la voz apenas un susurro. A great, great pleasure. Se alejó, dejando atrás a un Ethan Rhodes ligeramente desconcertado, and sank back into the anonymity of the crowd. The city lights, once a symbol of his triumph, now seemed to mock him, illuminating the desolate, empty landscape of his own creation. The ghost of Eleanor had returned, not as a fading memory, but as a vibrant, undeniable reality, holding the hand of a son he never knew he had. His carefully constructed world had just begun to crumble. The confrontation and the sentence, the revelation sent Alexander Vance into a spiraling descent. The meticulous order of his life shattered. He locked himself in his penthouse, tormented by the questions. He finally called Marcus Bell. Marcus, I need a deep dive. Eleanor Hayes Rhodes. Her entire past, her business, her family, her son, discreetly. Within days, a complete dossier landed on Alex's desk. He devoured it. Each page was a fresh wound. Ellie had been pregnant when he left. Ethan had been born 6 months after their divorce was final. The truth hit him with the force of a physical impact. He had not only abandoned his wife, he had abandoned his unborn son. Ellie's quiet acceptance, her whisper, "I hope you find what you're looking for," now resonated with heartbreaking clarity. She had known. She had carried her secret, raised their son alone, and built a beautiful life without him. He needed to see her. He needed to apologize. He found the address of her studio in the dossier, a lovely, light-filled space in the village. Ellie was at her desk, engrossed in a project, when he entered. The sound of the bell made her look up. Her eyes, still hazel, but now with a steely glint he hadn't seen before, opened with incredulity. "Alex," she said, her voice monotone, devoid of emotion. "What are you doing here?" "Ellie," he began, feeling like an intruder in a sanctuary. "I saw you at the gala, and Ethan." A flicker of comprehension crossed her face. "Ethan is my son," she affirmed, her tone a clear warning. "He's my son too, isn't he?" Alex blurted out. He has the mole, I know." Ellie looked at him for a long moment. "Yes, Alex," she said in a low voice. "He is your son. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you keep him from me?" Ellie's soft tone vibrated with a barely contained fury. "Alex, you walked out. You walked out the door without looking back. Cut me completely out of your life. You thought I was a burden, an obstacle to your ambition. What was I supposed to do? Chase you? Beg you to acknowledge a child you clearly didn't want when you couldn't even acknowledge me? I didn't know you were pregnant. You wouldn't have cared, Alex. You were obsessed with your empire. A baby would have been just another distraction. You weren't ready to be a father. Besides, Daniel is his father. He raised him. He loved him. He taught him everything. He has been the father Ethan deserves, the one you could never be. I want to explain. I want to make amends. I want to know him, my son," Ellie scoffed. "After 20 years? After he has become a remarkable young man thanks to Daniel's love and guidance, you think you can walk back into his life and claim him? You forfeited that right the day you walked out." "Please, Ellie," he pleaded, his voice breaking. "I've made so many mistakes. I regret them every day. My life is empty. All of this," he vaguely gestured toward his vast, invisible empire. "It means nothing without family, without him." Ellie looked at him with chilling coldness. "Empty, Alex? That is why you are here. Not for Ethan, but for yourself. Because your great empire won't fill the void you created. Her voice was laced with chilling disappointment. That seems to be your problem, not ours. I need to talk to him, dijo Alex, su voz apenas un susurro. Just once, to apologize, to thank you, Ellie, for raising him into the man he is. Ellie relented almost imperceptibly. I can't promise anything, Alex. Ethan is an adult. It's his decision. But I will talk to Daniel, and then I will talk to Ethan. Don't expect miracles. Una semana después, su teléfono sonó. Era Eleanor. Ethan will meet with you, dijo, su voz aún neutral. In a neutral place, his choice. This Friday at 6 p.m. at the Bleecker Street Cafe. Just you and him. No expectations. The irrecoverable connection, the Bleecker Street Cafe, was a quaint, unpretentious spot. Alex arrived early, his heart pounding. Ethan was already there, sitting at a corner table, sipping tea. He looked up as Alex approached, his gaze steady and unwavering. Ethan, dijo Alex, tomando el asiento frente a él. Mr. Vance, respondió Ethan, courteous but distant. Please call me Alex. He paused. Ethan, I know you know about me, about our connection. Ethan asintió lentamente. My mother and Daniel told me when I was about 10. They were very open. They said you were a man who made difficult decisions, and those decisions meant you wouldn't be a part of our lives. Sus palabras eran tranquilas, desprovistas de ira, pero imbuidas de una dignidad silenciosa que era devastadora. I made a terrible mistake, Ethan, comenzó Alex, con la voz embargada por la emoción. I was blinded by ambition. I didn't see what I had in Eleanor. I didn't see you. I wish I could go back and change it, but I can't. All I can do is apologize from the bottom of my heart. I'm so sorry for abandoning you, for not being there, for not being the father you deserved. Ethan escuchó, su expresión ilegible. I have had a wonderful father in Daniel, dijo Ethan finalmente, su voz suave pero firme. He taught me everything important. He was there for every scraped knee, every school play, every heartbreak. He is my father, and my mother is the strongest, most incredible woman I know. They built a life together, a beautiful one, and I am so grateful to be a part of it. I know, susurró Alex, con un sabor amargo en la boca. And I see it, and I thank them for it, for giving you such a wonderful life. I don't hate you, Alex, dijo Ethan, con voz tranquila. I understand that people make mistakes, big mistakes. My life has been good. I am happy. I have a family who loves me unconditionally. Hizo una pausa, and while I appreciate your apology and your honesty, I don't believe I have room for another father in my life right now. The one I have is enough. Las palabras, pronunciadas sin malicia, pero con una certeza inquebrantable, fueron un golpe final y aplastante. I understand, dijo Alex, la derrota pesando en su voz. Thank you for meeting with me, Ethan. It truly means a lot. Mientras se levantaba para irse, Ethan se acercó a la mesa y empujó suavemente hacia Alex un pequeño posavasos de cerámica pintado a mano, una pieza de alfarería. My mother made this, dijo Ethan. She's an incredible artist. It's a reminder that beauty can come from unexpected places, even broken pieces. Alex tomó el posavasos, sus dedos trazando el delicado patrón. Miró a Ethan una última vez. Su hijo, un reflejo tanto de su mayor arrepentimiento como del poder duradero de un amor que había abandonado. Mientras salía del Bleecker Street Café, el imperio que había construido parecía menos impresionante, menos sustancial. La verdadera riqueza, se dio cuenta, no se medía en miles de millones, sino en la risa compartida, los momentos de conexión y el amor nutrido y devuelto. Había pasado su vida persiguiendo sombras, solo para descubrir demasiado tarde que la verdadera luz siempre había estado justo más allá de su alcance, en la vida que había desechado. Había encontrado a su hijo. Sí, pero la amarga ironía era que solo lo había encontrado para reconocer el profundo e insalvable abismo que él mismo había creado. The Legacy of Regret. The story of Alexander Vance is a stark reminder that true wealth is not always measured in dollars, but in the bonds we forge and the love we nurture. The quiet fortitude of Eleanor and the unwavering loyalty of Ethan teach us that new beginnings can blossom from unexpected places. If this story moved you and made you reflect on the true cost of life's decisions, please hit the like button on this video. Share this narration with someone who needs a powerful reminder of what truly matters, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life dramas that explore the depths of the human experience. We would love to read your reflections in the comments. What would you say to Alexander Vance if you had the chance? As he walked out of the Bleecker Street Cafe, the setting sun cast long shadows over Bleecker Street. The empire he had built seemed less impressive, less substantial. True wealth, he realized, was not measured in billions, but in shared laughter, connected moments, and love nurtured and returned. He had spent his life chasing shadows, only to discover too late that the true light had always been just beyond his reach in the life he had thrown away. He had found his son, yes, but the bitter irony was that he had only found him to recognize the profound, unbridgeable chasm he himself had created. As he walked toward his car, he felt the cold of the ceramic in his palm. Eleanor's coaster, a simple piece of clay with ivory and green glazes that Ethan had handed him, was the only physical object he possessed from the life he had rejected. It was a reminder that beauty could spring from broken pieces, a beauty he had failed to preserve. That night, Alexander Vance did not return to his office. He did not sleep in the vast bed where solitude was the only companion. He drove through the quiet streets of the village, stopped in front of the small building where Eleanor and he had once lived, and stared at the dark windows, feeling the weight of 20 years of unchecked ambition. When he finally reached his penthouse on Central Park South, he didn't go to the desk or the bar. He stood by the window, watching the sunrise. The city, his kingdom, was waking up beneath him. Before, the rising sun was a symbol of a new opportunity to conquer. Today, it only illuminated the desolation. He held the pottery coaster. Ethan had closed the door, but Eleanor, by not forbidding the meeting, had left a crack open. There was one undeniable truth. Ethan existed. He was smart, good, and his in essence. Alexander Vance had a multi-billion-dollar empire. But for the first time, he faced a challenge he could not buy or bully. It was no longer about acquiring a property. It was about rebuilding a soul. It was no longer about being the king. It was about trying to be, at least, a man. He grabbed his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years, that of Arturo Perez, his only true partner. "Arturo," said his voice, no longer sounding like a magnate, but like someone who had just woken from a long sleep. "I need you to start anonymously transferring funds to the Sustainable Architecture Foundation. For now," he paused, looking at the coaster. "And Arturo," he continued, his voice firm and low, "we're going to sell the Dubai holdings. All of them. It's time to make some changes. Real changes." He hung up. The vast empire of Varela Global Holdings was still there, but the man who ran it was no longer the same. He had received a sentence of loss, but also a life lesson. Alex didn't know if he would ever see Ethan again. He didn't know if Eleanor would ever forgive him. All he knew was that, for the first time in 2 decades, the emptiness had been filled. Not with love, but with a regret so immense and clear that it now held a purpose. Could Alexander Vance, the man who lost everything for ambition, use the same relentless determination to earn a place, even on the periphery, of his son's life? Or was his destiny condemned to be a lonely king on a golden throne? Final open and reflective. The story ends with an unanswered question. Is redemption possible for Alex? Comment below if you think his actions will earn him a second chance, or if it is already too late. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more high-impact stories.